Every time you speak too much, you lose power. Not slowly, not subtly, immediately. And the worst part? You don't even notice it. You think talking more makes you look confident, intelligent, important. It doesn't. It makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. Watch any powerful person closely. In a room full of noise, they're the quietest one. They don't rush to explain. They don't defend every point. They don't fill silence. Because they understand something you don't. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. The more you reveal your intentions, your insecurities, your need for approval. And once people see that, they adjust how they treat you. Less respect, less attention, less weight to your words. Because value isn't created by volume. It's created by restraint. Silence does something most people can't handle. It creates pressure. When you stop talking, the other person starts thinking. What is he thinking? Why isn't he reacting? Did I say something wrong? Now they're chasing your response. And the moment someone chases your reaction, you have the power. Every time you over-explain yourself, you send one message. I need you to understand me. That is a weak position. Powerful people don't beg to be understood. They state and move on. The more you justify, the more you look uncertain. And uncertainty kills authority. Imagine two people in a disagreement. Donald J. Trump talks fast, explains everything, defends every detail. J.D. Vance listens, pauses, speaks less. And only when necessary. Who looks in control? Not the one talking more. The one who doesn't need to. When you stop over-talking, something interesting happens. People reveal themselves. Some get uncomfortable. Some try harder. Some lose composure. Silence exposes weakness. Not yours. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not talking too much because you have a lot to say. You're talking too much because you're afraid of losing control of how people see you. So here's the rule. Speak less than you want to. Pause longer than feels comfortable. Let people sit in silence. Don't rush to explain. Don't rush to respond. Control the space by not filling it. Because in every room, the person who controls the silence controls everything. Every time you speak too much, you don't just lose influence. You surrender sovereignty. Not slowly, not gradually, like erosion, not subtly, like a slow leak in a dam. Immediately, like flipping a switch, like withdrawing consent from your own presence. And the worst part? You don't feel it happen. There's no alarm, no tremor, no internal warning bell. You're already speaking, justifying, clarifying, narrating, defending, and in that very motion your authority dissolves. Unseen. Unreversed. You think volume equals visibility. That speaking more makes you look confident, intelligent, authoritative, indispensable. It doesn't. What it actually does is expose your architecture, the scaffolding beneath your words, the fear behind the explanation, the insecurity beneath the interruption, the hunger for validation masquerading as conviction. And once people sense that scaffolding, not your ideas, but your need, everything shifts. You become readable. And readable people are manageable. Manageable people are influenceable. Influenceable people are, by definition, not in control. Watch any person who truly wields power, not title, not office, not even charisma, but uncontested presence. A seasoned diplomat in a tense negotiation. A master surgeon before the first incision. A monk who holds a room without uttering a syllable. A judge who lets silence hang like smoke after a flawed argument. They do not dominate the air. They curate it. In a room full of noise, voices stacking on top of voices, egos competing for airspace, they are the quietest one. Not passive. Not disengaged. Strategically still. They don't rush to explain, because clarity is not born of speed, but of selection. They don't defend every point, because defense implies vulnerability, and vulnerability invites scrutiny. They don't fill silence, because silence is not empty. It is charged. It is the space where meaning condenses, where assumptions surface, where power crystallizes. Because they understand something most never learn. Not in school, not in meetings, not even in therapy. Silence is not the absence of power. It is its most concentrated form. The more you talk, the more you map yourself for others. Your intentions, laid bare in qualifiers and caveats. Your insecurities, leaking through overassurance and preemptive apologies. Your need for approval, echoing in every, just to be clear, or, I just want to make sure you understand. And once that map exists, once people know where your pressure points are, where your certainty frays, where your confidence hinges on their nod, they begin to navigate around you, not with you. Their respect doesn't vanish, it contracts. Their attention doesn't leave, it narrows, focusing less on what you say and more on why you said it that way. Your words don't lose truth, they lose weight. Because weight comes not from frequency, but from rarity. Not from repetition, but from resonance. And resonance requires space. Space between words, space between statements, space between you and the echo of your own voice. Because value has never been created by volume. It is forged in restraint, refined in omission, amplified by pause. Silence does something few can tolerate, not because it's loud, but because it's alive. It creates pressure, not the kind that crushes, but the kind that reveals. Like deep water, like held breath, like the moment before lightning. When you stop talking, truly stop, without glance, without fidget, without the micro-reassurance of a nod or a smile, something immediate happens in the other person. Their internal monologue surges. What is he thinking? Why isn't she responding? Did I misread that? Did I offend? Did I sound foolish? What does his silence mean? Agreement? Disapproval? Judgment? Boredom? Now they are doing the work. They are generating meaning. They are chasing your reaction, not because you demanded it, but because your stillness made it inevitable. And the moment someone chases your reaction, you are no longer negotiating position. You are holding the frame. You are the gravity around which their thoughts orbit. That is not manipulation. It is structural advantage. Built not with words, but with the disciplined refusal to use them. Every time you over-explain yourself, adding context no one asked for, softening statements no one challenged, reconstructing your reasoning mid-sentence, you send one unmistakable signal. I need you to understand me. That is not humility. It is dependency disguised as transparency. It is the quiet admission, my worth depends on your interpretation. Powerful people do not beg to be understood. They state, clean, unadorned, anchored in their own certainty, and then withdraw. Not coldly, not dismissively, but with the quiet finality of a door closing, not out of rejection, but because the conversation has reached its natural terminus. The more you justify, the more you signal. I am not sure this stands on its own. I need your permission to hold this view. My position requires your endorsement to survive. And uncertainty, however well-intentioned, is the fastest solvent of authority. Because authority is not about being right all the time. It's about being settled, internally, unshakably, even amid doubt. And settled people don't perform their certainty. They embody it, often in stillness. Consider two figures in real-time tension, not caricatures, but documented patterns. One speaks fast, densely, repetitively, layering argument atop assertion atop anecdote, leaving little room for reflection, treating silence as threat, filling every gap with momentum. His language is defensive by design, even when declaring victory. The other listens, not passively, but absorbently. Pauses, not to collect thoughts, but to let the weight of what was said settle. Speaks only when the silence has done its work, when the room has leaned in, when assumptions have cracked, when the emotional temperature has shifted. Who holds the room? Not the one with more words. The one with more gravity. Not the one who needs to be heard, but the one whose presence makes hearing necessary. When you stop over-talking, not as a tactic, but as a discipline, something profound begins to unfold. People reveal themselves. Not their best selves. Not their curated selves. But their unvarnished selves, under pressure, without your verbal scaffolding to lean on. Some grow restless, shifting, checking devices, overtalking themselves, trying to reassert rhythm. Some escalate, raising volume, sharpening tone, revealing defensiveness they'd masked with banter. Some fold, softening, hesitating, second-guessing aloud, as the absence of your reassurance forces them to confront their own uncertainty. Silence doesn't expose your weakness. It exposes theirs, not as failure, but as friction. The friction between how they present and how they actually function. Between what they claim to believe and what they need you to believe. Between their story and their substance. And here is the uncomfortable, liberating, non-negotiable truth. You are not talking too much because you have a lot to say. You are talking too much because you are terrified, at a level deeper than thought. That if you stop, you will be misread. That your silence will be mistaken for emptiness, indifference, ignorance, or worse, irrelevance. You confuse being seen with being heard. You mistake audibility for authority. You equate filling space with owning it. But real ownership is silent. Like land. Like breath. Like dignity. So here is not advice. Here is a covenant with yourself. Small blue diamonds speak less than you want to. Not to suppress, but to select. Let only the essential words pass your lips, the ones that shape reality, not just describe it. Small blue diamond pause longer than feels comfortable. Let the silence breathe. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. 10. Watch how the room changes. Notice how your own pulse steadies. Feel your center deepen. Small blue diamond let people sit in silence, without rescuing them, without interpreting it, without apologizing for it. Their discomfort is not your emergency. It is their invitation to honesty, to courage, to growth. Small blue diamond don't rush to explain. Clarity is earned through consistency, not announced through elaboration. Small blue diamond don't rush to respond. A response is not a reflex. It is a decision, and decisions require space to form. Small blue diamond control the space by refusing to fill it. Not with dominance. Not with intimidation, but with the unshakable, unperformative presence of someone who knows. Their worth is not contingent on output. Their power is not measured in decibels. Their authority lives not in what they say, but in the sovereign stillness between the words. Because in every room, in every meeting, every negotiation, every relationship, every moment of consequence, the person who controls the silence does not merely hold the floor. They hold the frame. They hold the tempo. They hold the threshold between chaos and command. And whoever holds the threshold controls everything.